Ladies and gents, welcome to the first official podcast on Rewired Radio. I am your host, DJ Drew.
And I'm Coral, your favorite event planner.
And today we have a very special guest, one of the fastest rising wedding planners from Los Angeles. She is a celebrity wedding planner and she has her own wine brand. She's a young entrepreneur who has been featured in Southern California Bride, Magnolia Rouge, The White Wren, and much more. She has her own company, Not Just a Planner. Let's welcome Jessica Valenzuela.
Thank you for having me, and that is such an introduction. Wow.
Jessica, it's so good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the show.
You're our first guest officially on this show. How you been? It's good to see you. What have you been up to?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's 2022.
I know, right?
Currently, I am in the process of buying a house,
Ooh.
and I just recovered from COVID, and that was insane. So, I'm just really rebranding and just focusing on all of the weddings that are coming up in 2022. It's insane how many weddings there are this year. And
there's some things you just can't prepare for. And one example, which you and I have experienced together, Jess, is planning a wedding in a month.
Just a month?
Just a month.
You're lying.
Just a month.
Oh,
to be fair, they inquired 6 weeks prior or 5 weeks prior, and it took them a whole week to decide that they wanted to. It didn't take them a whole week for them to decide that they wanted to move forward with me. It took them a whole week to read the contract and to go over and actually book it.
Totally.
So then at the point when they actually signed the contract, then that's what go time. I only had 30 days to get this whole dream event done and to elaborate more on
that. She's not just talking about a dream event. This is a close friend of hers. They're a celebrity couple.
That's why.
Yeah, this wasn't just any couple. This is a celebrity
couple. This must be
couple.
someone famous.
And Jess is a dear friend of the bride. So let's rewind it back here for a second, okay? The year is 2020. The world is shut down pretty much at this point, right? There's no weddings happening. There's hardly anything happening. We're in the midst of a pandemic at this point. Fast forward to August 2020, you and I are on a Zoom call, right? You tell me, I have this wedding coming up now. You didn't tell me who it was.
No.
You just said it's a wedding. It's a friend of yours. You have these clients who are planning a wedding at the Ritz-Carlton, Laguna Niguel. So you and I go down to the Ritz. We take some measurements of the ballroom, things like that,
yes.
Right? And then we end up moving forward with the client. I send you a contract. They look it over. I get it back. And this is probably exactly a month prior to the wedding, right? Yeah, this is cutting it pretty close. So what happens? I send you the contract. The client accepts it. And then shortly after that, she sends me a text. I get a text from Jess saying, oh, by the way, now that the wedding has been finalized, you should know that this is a celebrity client. And when she told me who it was, my jaw just dropped. This was a dude I grew up watching on TV. If you're from Southern California and you grew up skating, you loved watching this guy because he was
Even if you didn't skate, because I didn't skate, but I love this guy.
He was fun to watch, hilarious to watch. He had one of the best shows on television at the time. And I couldn't believe who it was when you told me who it was. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do here? I got to go through with this now. It's official. It's a done deal.
To be fair, I didn't know you were a fan.
I was a fan. I was a fan.
I'm by the way, do you know who so-and-so is? And you're like,
do I? Do I? Jeez. I was starstruck, man. I don't normally get starstruck, but I could not believe that I was about to do this. So let's talk about the planning process now. We're a month away from the wedding, and now we got to plan this thing out. And that was fun, right? The planning process?
It was fun because I got to be able to showcase all of the things that I learned from David. I get to like really show a client what I'm about and my worth and like all of the energy and time and experience that I've had in planning, that I've got this, and to be confident and that you can trust me. Because as someone who just started their wedding planning business 5 months ago, I have no weddings. I have no profile to show them to tell them I've got this, you know, but you know, his wife believed in me from day one. Yeah. And she was like, I trust you. And the words that come out of her mouth and his mouth saying, we trust you, meant everything. And I put my 110,000% into this event. And I would say that it was really fun to be able to plan an event and to give them their dream event, and ultimately to listen. They were so upset that, you know, if they've worked with, you know, event planners in the past, that they didn't listen to what they wanted because they have the money, that they just were like, oh, well, if you have an unlimited budget, then we're just going to get this, and we're going to get this and this and this and this. And they're like, we want it this way. And I'm like, if this is what you want, then I'm going to give it. And I gave them exactly what they wanted, and they were so happy that I didn't take advantage of the fact they had an unlimited budget. I listened to exactly what they wanted, and they were happy. They were so happy. They said that was like the best day of their lives.
Aww.
That's awesome. And I think because you're a dear friend of the bride, that she put her trust in you, you know, to know that you were going to take good care of her in the wedding, and, you know, dot the I's, cross your T's, make sure every detail was in place. But still, even so, just because you're a friend doesn't mean it was easy planning this. I mean, it's not like you can directly call them and say, hey guys, you know, what would you like? What can I do? You had to go through some loops. You had to go through their people, as, you know, they say, talk to my people.
I mean, to be fair, she's my friend, so I could easily just text her. But this is a marriage. This isn't her way or the highway. This is, he has to be ultimately involved in these decisions as well. Sure. So the conversations that I had to be with both of them. It couldn't just be with one person. If it was something simple, I could just text her and say like, hey, like, you know. But when it had to be both of them involved, you know, their schedules are really rigorous. And it's not easy to just schedule like, hey, when are you free? Are you free like tomorrow? Or, you know, like, a lot of my other couples, they will ask me, like, are you free within the next few days? No, I had to actually schedule out an event a week in advance to have the meetings. But I also could not go directly to asking them about your schedule. I had to go with their personal assistants and to ask them, you know, what time are they available and all of these things. So a lot of my communication with them was with the personal assistant, and to ask them, hey, do they like this? Hey, do they want this? Hey, can we meet this? And it was kind of playing telephone at that point. Their assistants were amazing. They really, really helped. I would say did help me like on the communication aspect of being able to plan the wedding, but ultimately I'm the planner, and it's on me to make this a special day. So I would say that it was not easy, because I was up until 3:00 in the morning every single night. We would call each other.
Yeah,
and he
literally
would have questions.
This was my diet pretty much for the whole month, just drinking Red Bull. Shout out to Red Bull for keeping me up. Yep, keeping me up during that entire month. That was pretty much my diet, and Domino's.
Yeah, and if you had questions or something, it's like, dude, I haven't had sleep. And
dude,
I,
I remember.
I haven't had sleep too.
You guys would call each other at 3 a.m.?
No. We wouldn't call each other at 3 a.m.
2 a.m.
We would be up.
One.
We'd be up till like 2, 3 in the morning working.
Oh my God.
But I think one of the craziest things that happened occurred the week of the wedding. And I remember like preparing for weeks for this. I had like 200 songs ready to go. And then you text me like 3 days prior to the wedding. And you said, hey, they want to extend the reception by like 2 hours. And I'm just like, what? You're like, yeah, they just want more dance time, you know? They just want to party and have fun and dance. So they're going to extend the reception 2 hours, and you can't say no to that. You can't say no to that. But 2 hours in our world is an eternity. Hell, 30 minutes in our world is an eternity, let alone 2 extra hours of music. So I don't know what was going on in my head. I think I was ready to have a breakdown or something at that point. It was nuts.
I'm so
I was just
sorry.
like, oh man, like, how am I going to pull this off? But we pulled it off.
I mean, that's what the client wanted. And you know, they really wanted to focus on being with their guests and celebrating and, you know, celebrating love and wanted to just have fun. So they didn't want to get to like no bouquet toss, no garden toss. They don't want to do any of that stuff.
They just wanted to party.
They wanted to just party it up. And so he was on call to basically run the show for all of the reception and to really have them dance the night away.
I love it.
Yeah. And that was interesting too, because when the reception started, you know, we had gotten a playlist from them originally that they wanted some pop music and very friendly music, very, very friendly music.
Like, what do you mean by very friendly?
You know,
pop
like
music?
Britney and like,
Okay.
She's a really big fan of the 90s and early 2000s.
Okay.
But they had the kids there.
yeah,
Got it.
So they really wanted to make it kid friendly, that they weren't saying, you know, cussing words
Totally.
and stuff like that. So we really wanted to make sure that that the music was, you know, at least not so explicit.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Right.
she absolutely loves that decade, and
Mhm.
that, you know, that's where she jams out to. She just like takes a shot of whatever she wants to drink, and she just parties it up, and she's having the time of her life. And so obviously you want to make the couple happy, and
Yeah.
if that's what they suggested, then that's what we were going to give them. And so I told Andrew, make sure that the genre is this.
Yep. And so, you know, we started off with that. They're dancing, having a good time. And then I remember at one point someone comes up and says, "Hey, the kids are in bed. You can play some adult music now." And I was like, you know, this is kind of what they wanted. This
I
is what they
prepped
asked
for
for.
this.
Yeah, like I prepped for
Literally
this.
prepped.
So they said, you know, like, I remember even someone came up to me in a jacket and he's like, "Hey, can you play something more like this?" And he had a picture of 50 Cent's album,
Oh.
Get Rich or Die Trying. He's like, "I think the girls want something more like this." And I was just like,
They
all right,
want
what
the
do I do
grindy
here?
music.
Yeah,
You're
so they
going
want
through your Britney, your Ariana Grande. You're
right.
like,
So I'm going through this like kid-friendly music that they requested.
No NSYNC, no Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they want something else. So at one point, I remember there was like a lull on the dance floor, and I'm like, okay, I got to switch it up here. Otherwise, this thing's
That's
going to be a
not good.
disaster. So I had to get a little bit gritty. So I pretty much just improvised for the remainder of the night. I probably played that pop music for about 30 minutes. And then they're like, "All right, the kids are in bed. Let's play some adult music now."
Oh,
And then I had to switch it up completely. Just improvising.
Yeah, so all of the hard work of preparation to, you know, give the client what they wanted, and it was like, this is what the client wants, but this is not the guest want.
totally.
And so where do you find that happy medium of giving the client and making the client happy, but then also making sure that the guests are happy, where as a DJ, you would never want to see it being empty on the dance
Right,
floor. You
that's
want
like your worst
to have
nightmare.
people
That is
rocking.
absolutely the worst nightmare that you can ask for.
But he did a great job.
Yeah. So all those Red Bulls were just wasted. The 3 a.m.
I wouldn't say they were wasted, you know, but I definitely had to improvise on the spot. It was absolutely one of the hardest tests of my life to this day. I was not going to walk away from that wedding saying, "Oh, that was mediocre, that was half-assed."
Okay, but let's fast forward to the point of it's the end of the wedding,
It's the end of the wedding.
and you and I were talking, and he comes up and he says the words, "That wedding was perfect."
To you?
To her,
Oh, to you.
To both.
to Jessica.
To Jessica.
No, I heard him say it to her.
my goodness.
They were ready to walk out. We close out the night, last song of the night. They're cheering, super happy. They're about to walk out of the room, and the groom turns around and says to Jess, "Thank you, Jessica. That was perfect." And I heard him say that. I think you even missed that. I think that flew right by you.
I think I was just I was like in denial, like, no.
She was so nervous afterwards. She was just like, "I don't know how that went. Like, did we pull it off?" And I'm just like, "Jess, he said it was perfect. It doesn't
you not
get any
hear?
better than
Yeah,
that.
I did not hear what he said.
Oh my
It doesn't get any better than that."
Oh, that's amazing.
It was a really incredible experience for sure.
We pulled it off, and I probably slept for like 3 days straight.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hadn't slept for like 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, just like obviously you're a wedding planner and I'm a wedding planner. Just being in the industry and especially a 2022 bride, like it is crazy stressful.
Yes, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Especially when you are on a time crunch. Like just the whole planning a wedding in a month, like that is crazy. Like how did you do that? Like, you know, like how did you there's just timelines and budgets and, you know, all this stuff that you have to do. Like how did you do it in a month? Like how did you wrap it up to make it this big event, you know?
Yeah. I mean, definitely no sleep.
Right. We talked about the no sleep.
Right,
We talked
no
about
sleep.
the Red Bull. Yes.
A lot of it is communication with the vendors and also coming up with a to-do list. Definitely having a to-do list with your clients of like, all right, if you're really that busy and I can't talk to you until next week, here's your homework. Here's the things that I need you to decide on, because if you don't decide on these things, I can't move forward. I can't get you the right vendors you want. I need you to prove the mood board, the vision board, you know, being able to see all these proposals that you got back from the vendors that I recommended. Which ones do you want to choose? And this is full service planning. So this is different from other services that I do, like such as, you know, if it was partial or wedding management at the time. But for full service, at least I give them, you know, I execute it all. And then basically the clients are the ones that make the executive decisions.
Yeah. So when you have, you know, these clients and they're planning and they're picking all these decisions, you have these brides that sometimes, you know, they're planning their wedding on their own up until a couple months before their big event. What advice do you have for these brides? Well, and even wedding planners that are upcoming for when you are in this stressful situation? Like, what would you tell them?
Yes. So, first of all, I tell them to breathe. No.
Breathe, self-care, wine.
In all seriousness, like get yourself wine.
Yeah.
You know, get a face mask in there. Get a massage, facial.
I love it all. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I would say, you know, talk with your partner about the certain things that are going on. Don't feel like you have to do it alone. Like if if you're a full-time student, if you're a full-time job, and on top of that planning a wedding, it's a lot of work. And you're not going to get sleep. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Ask for help from your partner. Ask for help from, if you want, from like, you know, your wedding party. If you have a wedding party, your friends or family, if you want to get them involved. If you don't, you absolutely feel like you're type A and you want to like really just like, I don't trust anyone and I need to get everything done. Well, at least like really set yourself up for success and to really time out when those important things need to get done. I mean, there are so many things that you can find on YouTube and Pinterest and all of these things, but I would say a good chunk of that is really the timing and not procrastinating. Like you would say, oh, I got time. You don't have time. Before you know it, your wedding's tomorrow.
Right. Not in the wedding planning industry. You don't have any time, because I had a year and a half and now I have less than 6 months. So it goes by quick. So I totally feel you on that one.
Yeah.
So I'm eager to know, but you know, planning my own wedding and being in the industry, what are some of the biggest mistakes that your clients make? Yeah. Because I definitely don't want to be making the same mistakes.
Good question. So when you're first starting out, I would say, one, don't be so fixated on a date. I know that, you know, the first time that you said, I love you, the first time that you met at the specific place or when you first called it official and you were a couple, that like, if you're like, I want to get married on what's a popular date? A popular date this year is February 22nd, 2022. You know how many people are like getting married on that date because 22222?
Yep.
Like they're so fixated on a specific date. And it's like when you are so gung-ho on like a specific date, that eliminates you from getting a venue that you want unless you're planning this event a year and a half out where the date is not taken. In 2022, the weddings are astronomically high, and there's so many people who have already rented out these venues that the chances of you getting the date you want is very low. Yeah, so I would say to pick a season. Pick a season of, you know, do you want to get married in the summer or the spring? And then go to those venues that you feel are those dream venues that you want to get married in, and then see what dates they have available. Oftentimes, if brides are so fixated on a date, then that eliminates them from getting the dream venue that they want because, oh, they have this that accommodates this, but they don't have this is what I really want.
Yeah.
And had they have really looked at venues first before being so like, this is our date, this has to be our date no matter what, it really like eliminates you from like where you can have your wedding. Another one I would say is budget. That's a huge thing.
Totally.
To really talk to your partner if you have another family member that's paying for the wedding or offering to pay for a certain part of the wedding, that you talk to them about that as far as like the budgets and really doing that research as far as what the costs are in the wedding industry, because with the inflation and everything going on after COVID, prices are really high.
So you recommend kind of, if you're newly engaged, you're like, okay, what are my first steps? First steps, obviously, deciding a venue or deciding where you want to be, picking a season, but not being so fixated on, we have to have it on our anniversary date. And third, creating a budget.
Yeah. Well, actually, I would reverse that, where it would be first talk about the budget.
First talk about the budget.
Because venues are,
first.
You can find a venue for like $7,000. You can find a venue in Malibu for $30,000.
Totally.
So
budget
really
first.
Budget first.
Budget first.
Budget first. And then look into venues and then pick a date. So those are my top 3.
So helpful. I love that. And it's weird because even though I'm a wedding planner, planning my own wedding has been so stressful. And obviously we've talked about stress and things that happen and you can't be so fixated on things. But when it comes to decision making, I just can't make a decision for my own wedding. But for my client, it's easy peasy. Yeah. So like with clients, what are some things that you have to deal with when they're indecisive? Like how do you go about that?
When a bride or groom is indecisive and they need help trying to decide on a certain choice, I give them options such as like, here's A, B, and C, choose one of the 3, and that has helped.
Ooh.
Or if I feel that they're really struggling, you educate them. You let them know what the difference is. If you're going to choose this, this is what this is going to be. If you choose B, this is what it's going to be. I'll give you an example. I had a bride who was so like just indecisive on linens. Like she was like,
on linens.
Linens were so important. Her husband was like, why do we have to decide on curtains? She's like, they're not curtains. They are linens. And he was like, they look like curtains. They're curtains for a table, right?
Right.
And so it was just a funny joke that we had in between each other. But she really cared about the texture of linens that were on the tables for her guests. And she did not like cotton. She wanted poly cotton or she wanted velvet. And I was trying to figure out, how can we make a decision here? Yeah. And what I had suggested was like, okay, let me educate her, because when you're a bride and you're not in the wedding industry and you don't know what things cost, then, you need help. And that's why you hire a wedding planner. So I told her, if you were going to do cotton that comes with the venue, you're probably paying about $16 at the cheapest and $30 for like a regular linen. But if you want a more elevated linen, such as velvet, you're probably going to be paying $80. If you want an even higher linen than that, you're probably going to be paying upscale about $150 per linen. And when you calculate the cost of your guest count, like if you're having 10 tables times that, or 15 tables times that, it adds up.
And people don't know that. They see this photo on Pinterest. They're like, I want this tablecloth. I want this linen. I want these napkins. And you're like, this is why you have me. I'm here to educate you. Yeah. This is beautiful, but it's going to cost you this. Yep. And, your clients are like, what? Just for that? You're like, oh, yeah, that's just for one table. Yep. That's crazy.
Yeah. So definitely educating your clients on what the costs are for things, or like if they're indecisive, it's not even a cost discussion. It's more of just like the look of things. Another thing is I really like to do mock appointments with my brides. So they can really see like a sample table of, with the florist, like how the floral is going to look, how one centerpiece or with the silverware, the flatware, the tables and the glassware, how all that's going to look and pan out. They really get to go in that moment and visualize how it's going to be, and they can alter things and change it.
Right.
And
I love that, because it gives them that, first of all, excitement. Like, okay, my wedding's
really
coming up.
happening.
It's really happening. I can visualize it. And 2, this didn't really go how I wanted. But you have the time to change it.
You have the time to change it.
That.
You have the time to change it with your florist and, change whatever florals you like or didn't like. You have time with the rental company to change your order.
Yeah.
And you definitely do the mock appointment no later than 2 months, because after that, it takes a while to get floral to you.
Yeah. I mean, but you planned a wedding in a month. You can do anything, really.
Yes, but luckily their color scheme was white, so it wasn't hard to find the white flowers. If she was like, I want beige and I want, a terracotta or something, then I would be like, we need to order the flowers now.
Now, right now, today. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I love it though. That's good that you have these steps and you already kind of know, like, this is what I'm going to do with my client. If you're indecisive, this is what I'm going to do. If you're stressed, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I love that. And I hope that our listeners can kind of learn something from that too. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Jess, you talk about self-care. One of the best ways to care for yourself is through a glass of wine, you mentioned. And I understand you're also an active partner in a wine brand.
Yes, I am. I have a wine brand called Iconic Wine Beauties. It's a girl gang wine club where we empower women and inspire other women and uplift them to go after their dreams, whether they're big or small. I feel like I can attest to that. And if you heard my story, I am definitely like an example of that. And to just really be an inspiration for someone else out there that your dreams are possible, no matter how crazy they may seem to other people, they're definitely possible. If you would have told me that 9-year-old girl that I would be where I am today, I would be like, really? And giddy about it, like me. And so Iconic Wine Beauties, a very special place in our hearts. It is this wine brand where wine can be delivered to your door every single month. And aside from being a part of a wine club membership, you also have that community of women who can inspire you and uplift you and empower you. And I think it's really hard to find friends when you're an adult, and especially friends that are not negative and toxic. You have your friends that are your childhood friends, you have your family, but you grow as a person. And when you do self-care and you want to just become better, sometimes you outgrow those friendships that you grew with.
I agree. Just personal experience. Like, as you grow up as an adult, your friends change. And my mom always told me that, and I never believed her. I was like, I'm always going to have my high school friends. Like, we're going to be best friends forever. No, you get older and,
and things happen. And it's heartbreaking. It's honestly heartbreaking. There's some friendships where I'm like, what happened?
Right. What happened? But I love this whole idea. Is like, sometimes as an adult, it's hard to find these friends. So I love the whole concept of it.
And as an adult, there's stressful times, and it's nothing better than sipping on a glass of wine and talking to your girlfriends and just venting and being able to have that place where you can just have that confidence of knowing that you can trust them. And even if it's an amazing event that happened in your life or you're in a really low, we're there for you. Yeah. And so creating this wine brand is something that's very important and special to me and the rest of my business partners and collectively as a whole, like anyone who's a part of Iconic Wine Beauties, like absolutely just loves to feel like they belong to something.
I love that.
And how can people join this Girl Gang Wine Club?
Well,
do you want to join?
I'm considering it. Memberships are open.
Yeah. So we actually only offer memberships once a year, and we're going to be offering memberships this spring, so starting about end of April or early May. And if you want to learn more about Iconic Wine Beauties, you definitely email me.
Yes.
And we can chat about it.
That's awesome. And on that note, I think we should pop that wine bottle.
I agree.
Yeah, I think we have to get a taste of that.
It's a very sparkly bottle.
Don't worry, I got some
We absolutely love glitter. So
I know. Oh, it's all over me. I love it. Okay.
Do you want to do the honors?
Sure.
CJ Drew, let's do it. Oh. We didn't break anything. We're good.
Yay!
Oh, but I love that.
So we work with a wine distribution company, and they are able to provide the wines. They're able to ship the wines for us, and we're able to really focus on our girls and focus on helping them with their mental health, or not mental health because we're not like therapists, but as friends, like helping them how they can improve their lives, or like just whatever you go through.
I mean, you got me. Can I sign up? Like, I'm ready to go. A couple months, let's go.
For sure.
DJ Drew, if you want a girl gang.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Why not? Jess, it's customary
No
that
pun intended.
No pun intended.
our guest of honor makes the toast.
I would say cheers to thriving and glowing in 2022 and being the best version of yourselves. Your dreams are possible and may they come true. And congratulations to you both on your new podcast.
Congratulations to you.
Congratulations to you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for having me.
Until next time, guys. Cheers.
Before we go,
Oh,
Jess.
we're not done.
No, Jess, before we go, why don't you share with us one of your wildest stories, or maybe a horror story
What the
of
heck?
one of your events?
Oh, now that we just popped open the wine, we're getting crazy here.
So I've got a story here. So it was this wedding. It was in the fall, and there was a DJ Drew.
It wasn't me.
This was not you.
It wasn't me.
But you're not gonna like the story
It's not
because you're
me.
gonna
To
be like,
clarify.
I would never do this. So this is a DJ. The bride was like, oh, I'm looking for a DJ, or whatever. I gave her so many great recommendations. She ended up not choosing my recommendations. And she decided to choose someone that she felt would be able to perform well for her wedding. And I tried to communicate and text and call or whatever, and it was not getting through. And I was like, hey, I really haven't heard from this DJ, all of these things. And it's just one, when you are not great at communicating, that's a red flag to me. As a planner, you're someone who recommends your vendors. So you would kind of think that people would try to be nice to you as a planner. But anyways, so the wedding day happens, and I've texted this vendor, and he's like, oh, sorry, my phone died, or oh, sorry, I changed my number. Here's my new one.
Change my number in the middle of wedding planning.
Yeah,
Okay.
and not me, him.
That's what
As a
I'm saying.
DJ.
But still, it's your business.
Yeah,
It's
and not
what you're
communicating with the
doing.
bride. The bride and groom don't really know what's up, but he was like, oh, I got you. Don't worry. And then come the wedding day, there's just so many changes that are going on, and the last thing that I needed was the DJ not performing well, as far as not understanding the timeline when I had given it, not understanding, certain things that the bride and groom wanted to be said during toast, or how to pronunciate. And when we were getting ready for the grand entrance, I said, this is how you pronounce their names. This is how you pronounce and pronunciate each bridesmaid and groomsmaid's names. And after that, they're going to go straight into their first dance. So, he does his thing, and he pauses the music. And there's a lull.
In the
And you
middle of
can
the grand
hear-
entrance.
No, after the grand entrance was done, everyone claps, and then all you can hear is clicking and clacking from the forks and the knives and the glasses, and just hearing all of that.
Your
And
worst
the-
nightmare.
and-
Just an awkward silence,
and then,
basically.
An awkward silence, and then I had to gracefully go to the DJ and ask him, play the first dance, please. And he plays the first dance, and then the couple sit down in their seats and in their sweetheart table. And then they have to get right back up again and start awkwardly dancing. And first dances can be kind of awkward if you don't do it right, because within 30 minutes, they're over it, and they're like, okay, can we sit down? Because we don't want people watching us.
Yeah.
So then I think he played the whole song instead of fading it out. And you should really look at the body language of your couples, and especially guests. And if your couples aren't really feeling it, then just fade out the music, and you don't have to have the first dance for a whole 4 minutes. You can keep it at a minute. Anyway, so the bride was upset, and I can see it in her face, and I went to go ask her, she was like, why was there a lull? There should never.
It's on you.
There should never, ever be silence. And if I hear silence one more time, I am going to cut that DJ's throat.
Wow.
She was pissed.
Wow.
And I'm
Wow.
gracefully I'll take care of it. Right back. I'll be right back. And so then I asked him, are you okay?
Yeah.
Do you need help? No, sincerely, just
No, I
asking
hear you.
him, just being nice, and is everything
Do you know how to do
okay?
your job?
No, I didn't
Yeah.
say that. And
You
then
should
I was
have.
like,
Yeah.
the next thing that's coming up is the toast. and the blessing. This is how the bride wants the blessing to go, and how for you to announce this. And he was just, I didn't feel like I just felt that he was going to mess it up.
Yeah.
So I wrote verbatim, this is how you pronunciate the name of the person who's going to be blessing the food, and this is how she wants you to pronunciate it. I'm going to use fake names here, but for an example, this is how she wanted it to be pronunciated. The bride and groom would like to thank their wedding counselors, Pastor Alexandria, okay, to say a blessing before we get to the food or whatever. This dude said, this dude was like, the bride and groom would like to thank their wedding planner, Professor Alexandria.
Professor.
Not even pastor.
He said professor.
He said professor, and he said wedding planner. And I'm like, you just took credit for something that I did. Like, they are not the wedding planner. They are the wedding counselors. They help them through their marriage through preparing them for marriage, right? They're really religious.
Professor?
He said professor, and her eyes. Oh, my God. Her eyes were just, she was infuriated. And I'm just trying to make their day happy, and he's just messing it up. And the groom comes and he's like, bro, you all right? Because if you mess up one more time, that's it.
To the DJ.
To the DJ. And he's like, no, I'm good. I got it. And I'm like, you better got it. So then I'm next to this DJ. And I am like, this is the time. Like, he didn't print out the timeline or anything. And like, I had an extra timeline just in case. Right. And I highlighted, these are the important times of when these things are going to happen. I mean, how much more prepared can I give the DJ?
And you're not their babysitter.
I'm not their I shouldn't have to tell you how to do your job. No. I shouldn't have to tell you how to do anything. You should know how to do things. You should be able to do it just fine.
Right.
I don't know how you could mess up professor from, especially when I wrote it down. Like, how do you, like, my writing's not even messy. Like, how do you get professor from pastor?
So you're basically babysitting this guy throughout the night.
Oh, I'm
telling him what to do.
Yeah, I mean, everything was just just messed up. I mean, the bride and groom specifically asked for him not to play that bad of raunchy music. He played some grindy music in front of their grandparents, and just like the highest of inappropriate songs.
Yeah, especially at a wedding.
That he could play. I mean, just keep it on the DL. Like, just keep it a little bit. And I mean, it was to the point that a bridesmaid was in his face, snapping her fingers, swaying her hair left to right, and clapping at him, boom, 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 and just telling him off how horrible of a DJ he is. I had no idea that he was drinking throughout the night. And I kind of can't blame him, because if I was in a situation, I'd be like, dude, give me a drink, because I am too stressed out. But on top of how horrible that was, and I don't ever say that it's okay for any of the vendors to drink. I never allow any of my team members or any of the vendors to drink on the job. And had I have known that, I would have addressed it. But I didn't know that until after the fact. But the worst thing that we found out after, what the bride and groom said, that's not the DJ we hired.
What?
And I'm like, what do you mean that's not the DJ you hired?
They sent someone else?
It turns out that the DJ that they hired, this guy didn't tell them, oh, I booked another gig or whatever, and I can't, or whatever his reasons were for not coming. He literally just got his friend and was like, bro, can you cover for me, and just pretended to be me.
They sent some random
They sent an imposter?
It was his first wedding. He's never done a wedding in his life.
They sent an imposter to do his first wedding?
To someone's wedding.
Wow.
So there were lulls, there were wrong songs, there were just wrong versions of songs. I mean,
oh my God.
This guy got it just like really in his face from all these people just being so upset with him. And it's like, I mean, it's your first wedding, bro. Like, you should have just told your friend. He should have dealt with it. First of all, any vendor should never do that. I was so shocked that a DJ would even think about not even communicating and telling me what's wrong or whatever. And just hiding it under the rug and telling me I changed my number, and, oh, this is my new number, and all of these things. And I don't know, it was just really disappointing to not only the bride and groom, but it was also disappointing as a planner because everything's on you to make it right.
But you look back at it and you're like, peace out. See you never. Never contacting you, random DJ.
Yeah.
I didn't even know his name.
Didn't even know his name.
I don't think it matters.
You don't need to know his name.
Yeah, you're never going to call him again.
Oh
That just goes to show you, folks, know who you're hiring because your DJ can make or break your party, right? If
Please
you don't
just
hire
a professional for your reception. Don't hire friends and family members. Don't hire the person that you think is cheaper just because of the price. The price is the price for a reason. It's because of the experience that they've had. It's because of, it's not trying to cheap shot. It's not trying to just make money and mooch off of you. It's because they have a craft and they know what they're doing. Yeah. And trust them.
To the brides out there, like kind of like recapping what we talked about earlier, is know your budget. Decide what's important for you for your wedding. If DJ's number one, spend the most on a DJ. Florals are second, spend the most on florals. But it's like you have to know who's important. And in my experience, DJ is important.
Photography.
Wedding planner is important and photography is important. Every vendor is really important to make the whole thing like together. But, just from hearing that experience, like, that's stressful. That was literally crazy. Just made their whole wedding kind of like here to here.
Yeah. And you wouldn't want that. Like I tried so hard to make sure that things wouldn't slip. And again, pointing back to no matter who you've learned from, no matter how much you prepare for yourself, it's your own journey, it's your own experience, and nothing could have prepared you for that.
Nope. Oh man, that is a story I just never want to relive.
Let's hope none of us ever have to experience that. So, Jess, we want to thank you just for being here with us. I think your company is a perfect representation of who you are.
Oh, thank you.
You're a planner, you're an entrepreneur. You've had celebrity mentors and clients. So at this point, how do you take it to the next level? Where do you go from here?
Well, I'm all about growth. And really right now I'm focusing on rebranding. And now I really want to pay it forward by educating people and other planners out there that want to become a planner. I felt like, it can get really lonely in the wedding industry, especially when you're trying to find frienders is what we call them in the wedding industry.
Our frienders, shout out to all our frienders.
Yes. You're really trying to find yourself and you're trying to get your foot in the door. And sometimes if you don't have the right people, it can be very cutthroat in a sense. But I'm all about community over competition. So I'm really working on a new project to be able to help not only wedding vendors, but also future brides. So future brides, definitely follow me because something big is coming and it's going to help you plan your own wedding.
And where can these future brides find you, Jess?
Yeah, so you can find me on all social media platforms. I have Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, all at notjessaplanner, NOTJESSAPLANNER.
That's so cute. I love that.
Thank you. And you can also email me at hello@notjessaplanner.com if you have a certain question. Yes. And I'd be happy to help however I can.
Love that.
Hear that, brides? Reach out to Jess. She's going to take good care of you. She's the best in the biz. Jess, thank you so much for being here with us today. We look forward to having you back again next time.
Yes.
We know you're going to do some incredible things this year.
Aw, thank you.
And on that note, guys, until our next toast.
Until our next toast.
Cheers.
Cheers.